Analog horror is a vast and fascinating subgenre. It takes the foundation set by found footage horror and places it in an even more familiar and nostalgic setting. Some of the content made in this genre is some of my favorite horror content in general. However, due to the surge in popularity of this genre, it became very formulaic very quickly. I'm usually hesitant nowadays to check out any new series because of how repetitive and unintentionally hilarious some analog horror content is. But like I said, when it hits hard. Salutations normies, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Yort, Yortilius von Yodelbing to be specific. But my friends call me the Fat Tooth, and I'm here today to list my top 10 analog horror videos. Before we get started, I'd like to preface that there will be two sets of honorable mentions. The first being a set of videos that will always be at the bottom end of the list, and the rest of them who are around the same tier as the top few spots but couldn't quite get into the list. Our low honorable mentions are Open Your Heart to Me, Mandela Catalog Volume 3, and Happy New Friends. Now, enough foreplay, let's boogie. Number 10, The Perfect Pet. Now, I'll just throw the hot take right out the gate. I don't like Harmony in horror. I don't like Baddington's work very much in general. My thoughts on Baddington himself are kind of in a teeter-totter, so some of you may be wondering why his content made it to not only the honorable mentions, but the 10th spot. Well, it's all because of this one scene.
You can give him a treat and he can eat it like a real doggy would. Nom, nom, nom. That's tasty.
Up for some dancing? No biggie! Fuzzy Buddy just loves to
That one scene from this video is so good that I felt it earned a spot on the list. The crooked camera, the rocking, the missing bloody mouth, the background noise. Baddington tends to be very gratuitous. Even earlier in the same video, he was quite gratuitous. But this scene has the perfect amount of detail to make it feel genuinely unnerving and disturbing. The preceding events in the video are okay. I like the vintage video game bit, as well as the bedroom scene. Something that always freaked me out as a kid was whenever something in my room would make a noise during the nighttime. Whether it was a toy going off or something falling over, it did not help my fear of the dark one bit. The ending is also super sad and actually gets to me, so yeah. The video is fairly solid on its own, but that one quick scene just brings it up to a whole nother level. Number 9, The Deep Blue. Gemini Home Entertainment is without a doubt one of the best analog horror series out there. So much so that you'll see more than just this episode make it to the list. This series manages to slip itself into so many of the best genres of horror, and it does it so seamlessly. There's cosmic horror, body horror, AI horror, but this episode delves into aquatic horror. So if you have thalassophobia, you're gonna love this shit. The video, of course, begins normally. These parts of Gemini episodes are always super authentic with the visual presentation and the music used. We're first shown a school of fish before we're then shown the footage of blue whales. The video goes into a segment describing the dangers of the ocean, informing us that despite potentially dangerous wildlife, it's the habitat that we should be scared of. But before the specifics can be given, the video switches over to facts about the Marianas Trench and the fucking what now? Apparently there's now a tunnel at the bottom of the trench that is so deep, the specific depth of it is unknown. Cheery! The video glitches some more before switching to a caption that says, "Nothing can live inside the Marianas Trench." So yeah, that was a fucking lie. Despite being shown what kind of creature resides down in the trench, there's still tons of questions left to be answered. What exactly is this thing? What made the tunnel? How long has it been there? Luckily, those questions can be answered for you if you watch the series, so go ahead and watch it for me. Even though Gemini is guilty of doing the standard format in most analog horror videos, it does it so well that you're actually able to be engaged in the story. This video fills you with such an immense amount of dread, and we're only getting started. Number 8. Crusader Probe Mission. In another addition to Gemini Home Entertainment, we switch up from the deepest depths of the ocean out to the farthest corners of space. At first, we're shown photos of a few planets along with their moons taken from a Crusader probe that has been flying for about 12 years at this point. Unfortunately, before it could reach Neptune, it came across something quite sus. We see some goofy ass looking moons until the probe gets eaten by the planet that they were orbiting. So in case aquatic horror and cosmic horror weren't enough, enjoy some trypophobia and do something on the house. The probe travels through the bowels of this massive superorganism for several months before reaching what could be presumed to be the brain. Unfortunately, it stopped dead in its tracks. The signal is lost after the last photos taken are that of me waking my mom up at 3 AM to tell her that I tinkled in the sheets, which is then followed up by some kind of structure letting off a siren. What comes after that is what cemented this video spot in the list. Well shit, I guess we know where this thing came from. Number 7. Shifting Tendons. Yet another episode of Gemini. Guys, I promise I'll mix it up in a bitch's way. This time we're getting up close and personal with an entity in this world. The first thing we're given is this peculiar looking thing flinging its fluids, and then a visual of what can only be described as me looking outside my window on the day I'm expecting a package. After that, we get to the main meat. Literally. Turns out someone got some fluids flung onto them because this guy got his shit fucked up. Because of this, the person is being held in a secure underground bunker where they experience a gruesome kind of metamorphosis over the course of a few months. Things start taking a turn for the worse when we're shown a graphic confirming that this man's tendons do indeed be shifting. This is followed up by some audio captured from the surveillance camera. Same, bro. The person then twists and malforms into something completely unrecognizable. Any parts left of him that remotely resemble what he was before are far and few between. He might as well not have them, because what's left now is not human. They attempt to interview him, but only get their words repeated back to them. Now, usually creatures in the series do this to try and learn how to mimic certain people before replacing them. However, we soon learn that that is not the case in this instance. This is the kind of horror that Remy Abode does so well. They don't need jump scares or anything to scare you. The entire series is filled to the brink with pure dread, and I love it. Number 6. Meme Bears Intruder Alert. Finally, we move on from Gemini to something quite different. Now, I'm gonna drop another hot take on y'all. I don't like Mandela Catalog. The concept is great and there are some great moments. Alex Kister has got the right idea, but I just do not like the end result. Mean Bear's version, however, to give you an idea on the contrast between Mean Bear's remakes and the original version, here's a comparison.
I am inside your home. I am inside your home.
Good lord. One of the main things about alternates in the Manila catalog is mental warfare. This subtlety in the remake really makes it feel like a blink and you'll miss it type of moment. Imagine being at home and watching either version on the TV. The way the remake is executed is so much scarier because of the uncertainty of it. In the original, you know something is in your house, which, don't get me wrong, is terrifying. But in the remake, you're not entirely sure. You don't even know if what you saw was real. It's so fast and silent. The terror at this point is significantly greater than in the original, because it ties into the fear of the unknown. You're only given a moment to recuperate before this happens.
Some of us may rely on a few important key things to help keep them entertained, like toys, going for walks in a stroller, or even some cartoons on the family television. Cautious with what channels your kids may be watching on the television.
It's been a while since I was genuinely startled by a video, and that shit got me. It was so unexpected even after watching the original. It's so small it's kind of hard to consider it a full-on jump scare, but this amplifies the already tremendous terror felt from this video. The next part of the video appears to my personal fears.
If you hear your child screaming or crying in front of the television, wait until your child stops crying before entering the room. You will be...
As a kid, I was very afraid of EAS broadcasts airing on TV. The only reason I grew out of that fear was because I live in Texas, so they would pop up so often that they just became more annoying than scary. But nonetheless, the fear I felt back then is unforgettable. The loud and fast artificial voice played almost made my heart sink the first time I watched this. I don't know why, but sometimes robot voices scare me. I know the original series uses robot voices as well, but for some reason those don't get to me, but this does. It's a very weird fear of mine. I can assume that the fear is connected to me having to listen to message tones playing on our home phones across the house when I was a kid, but regardless of its origin, it's probably one of the specific things today that can still freak me out. After the mother finds her missing child, the remake decides to put us directly in her mind during the event. As opposed to the original where we saw her reaction to the event, we're now experiencing the whole thing with her. What follows is one of the most disturbing scenes I believe has ever been put into analog horror. This video seems to be jam-packed with my personal fears, because old grainy black and white images have always had an effect on me. I remember being absolutely horrified by the movie Begotten because of this. This image is so much more effective than the PowerPoint presentation seen in the original. It's so visceral, it feels like you yourself just walked in on this one. The next scene pretty much proves that the goal of this remake was to make us empathize with the characters.
Television programs from coast to coast.
This still shot of a living room facing the TV feels so vulnerable, like something could happen to you at any time. This gave me even more flashbacks to when I was a kid seeing AES broadcast for the first time, and believe me, it was not fun. Before heading into the third section of the video, Mean Bear actually decided to put a scene from Mandela Catalog Volume 3 into the mix. The voice acting is about as good as the original, and the writing is actually better since it's implied that the officers were able to track the location, so they didn't have to ask for it several minutes into the call. The photo section is about on the same level as the original. Mean Bear himself even said that it could have been better. But regardless, this remake is absolutely spectacular. If there's any creator of this genre that knows how to freak you the fuck out, it's Mean Bear. Number 5. Sound Response Check. Not only did Squimpus McGrimpus pioneer the FNAF VHS subgenre, but they made the consistently best series to date. That's right, from my point of view, not a single FNAF VHS series has been as good as this one. Everything in this series is just done to near perfection, and this episode is no exception. Sound Response Check is much more simple than most analog horror videos. That's something that Squimpus excels at: simplicity. They don't always need to switch locations and scenes. Sometimes they just need one. Because of this entry feels like it could actually be a haunted VHS tape, much more than others. One common thing analog horror does is prioritize the story over the authenticity, but most of the videos in this list tend to give them equal priority. Most videos just go way too over the top to the point where you have to suspend your disbelief a little too much, in my opinion. So what exactly is going on in this video? Well, it starts off as the name suggests, a sound response check. This tape is meant to be used as a tutorial for when Chica needs audio-related troubleshooting. After a couple tests, shit hits the fan when Chica starts staring into your soul while eerie distorted music plays. Text overlays the footage with Chica's thoughts and feelings about her current predicament. Something that I'm a sucker for in horror is subtlety. Specifically when hearing or reading words alone can fill you with so much fear. The atmosphere of this video paired with the disturbing monologue are an almost unmatched pair. Before this series of videos, FNAF never truly delved into just how dark and twisted the story is. This video alone is a prime example of just how harmful missed potential is for certain media, because if it weren't for this, FNAF would have never had any true horror to its name past the first game, especially after recent installments. The ending of this video is some of the most effective horror I've seen to this day. I don't know if I can praise it enough. If you've ever had sleep paralysis, imagine going through that constantly for decades. Yeah. Number 4. Memories. Here we are with another Squimpus video. Even though Sound Response Check is perfect on its own, this video has a leg up over it for one thing: the voice acting. Nifty Table's portrayal of William Afton in this video is nothing short of flawless. Don't get me wrong, the evil British man in the official series is fun, but this version just feels so much more real. It isn't hammed up or anything, and it sounds like a tape left behind by an actual serial killer. It's so authentic thanks to the combination of Squimpus' writing and Table's acting. The best part of this entire video, however, is the switch up at the end. You see, at the beginning of the tape, Will refers to the listener as whoever you are, but at the end...
So, there you go.
you've heard this, you should know that I check this spot every day to see if this tape is moved. I've seen it so many times, I'll be able to notice even the slightest difference. I will know. So you better put it back, Michael, as neatly as you can, and start running.
I swear, Squimpus is a master of using words alone to scare the absolute shit out of you. The feeling you get listening to this is like knowing your parents are mad at you and you'll inevitably have to face them and dial it up to 104. These two made one of the simplest yet most bone-chilling horror videos I have ever seen, and they deserve every bit of praise for it. Number 3. Contingency. Here we have what I believe to be the best overall analog horror series ever made, Local 58. This series and episode in particular harken back to several of my previous points, that being authenticity, simplicity, and the ability to instill fear via words alone. Nearly every single episode of Local 58, this one especially, feels like they could have been actual broadcasts. On top of that, any distortion that occurs in them feels like something that is actually possible, whether it be via human or non-human interference. This video to me instills more dread than any we've mentioned thus far, purely because of how real it feels. This feels like a real broadcast with a real message. Everything about it, from the initial statement to the distorted music, the smallest patriots, the passive aggressiveness, the manipulation, and especially the translucent text behind the correction. All of it culminates into existential and psychological terror that is damn near unmatched. Number 2. Real Sleep. To me, this episode of Local 58 is the best one to date. Once again, it is very simple. What we're watching is a personalized instructional video cassette tape made by the Thought Research Initiative. The video starts off by giving some simple dream-related fun facts before it starts becoming biased. The tape begins to reveal its true colors, from going to an educational presentation to a brainwashing procedure. It spreads this whole idea that dreaming is detrimental to not just sleep, but the human mind as a whole. It displays the differences in brain activity between a brain that does dream and one that doesn't, with the non-dreamer having a much lower frequency than the other. Then comes the segment of the video that earns its spot at second place. The brainwashing officially begins as creepy faces flash on screen, while an eerie robotic voice repeats the same thing over and over again.
There are no faces. There are no faces. There are no faces. There are no faces.
The next phase involves text flashing across the screen that you're hardly able to keep up with. The text is a series of short cryptic messages that will send shivers down almost anyone's spine. The episode resolves as it tries to convince you that the disturbing procedure you just went through is good for you, as it has supposedly been good for others, before giving one final message. Everything about this video is perfect. Contingency was so well made, you'd think it couldn't possibly be topped, but this doesn't. The visuals, the simplicity, the authenticity, the audio, the text, everything is perfect. This is how you do analog horror. It's so crazy that to this day, the first analog horror series made is still the best one by a wide margin. Now before I move on to the top spot, let me address the elephant in the room. If I'm giving all of this praise to Real Sleep, then why isn't it at the top? Well, it's all because of one single video. It's so short and so simple, but so effective. But before I reveal this, let's go on to the high honorable mentions. Wretched Hands. Facial recognition testing. Meme Bears Overthrown. Rustic's Alternate. Rustic's Intruder Alert. Weather Service. Finale. Artificial Computer Learning. And, finally, Our Solar System. Number 1. Nightmare.mp4. This video is under a minute long, yet it has what I believe to be the most disturbing scene that has ever graced analog horror thus far. The first half of this video isn't anything too special. It's fairly standard FNAF shenanigans, albeit with some subtle but freaky details. But it's the second half of this video that's just insane. The image is terrifying on its own, but if you know the events that happened in FNAF 4, it elevates it to a whole nother level. I know I'm really edging you guys, but I highly recommend you go watch this first. Like I said, it's literally less than a minute long, but regardless of whether you go and do that or not, I'll just go ahead and show you. Wow. Just wow. The uncanny face, the blood, the brains, the police lights and sirens, the voices of tons of frightened people. This scene is so fucking unnerving, horrifying, unsettling, and disturbing that I can't not put it at the very top. This video is a masterclass in creating extremely effective horror in such a short amount of time. Hats off to Meme Bear for this one. Even though Local 58 reigns supreme as the best and scariest analog horror series, this video reigns as the single most horrifying analog horror video in the entire genre. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll be coming out with some more top 10 lists in the future. The two I currently have planned are the top 10 scariest movies and the top 10 scariest movie scenes. I'm super excited to make those and see what you guys think about them. Let me know y'all's thoughts on this list as well as what y'all find to be the most effective analog horror videos. I'm considering making a video about analog horror hot takes, so let me know if you'd be interested in that. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side.